Great managers don't just happen. They are developed through training and experience. In this episode, we're going to focus on the training side of that equation by talking about manager training. What training do you need to be delivering to build great managers for your dealership?
Welcome to Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers. Prepare to learn something new about the industry that keeps us moving.
Check out all our podcast content on our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X. Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to talk about training again, but in a real specific context, manager training. So training is really important to us. We are a training company. One of the things that we do is provide training. But it's so important to talk about training in the context of one of the most important aspects of your dealership, and that is your managers. Manager training is so important and yet often neglected. We start out with the question, what do your managers need? What are the skills and abilities that they need to have to be most effective for your dealership? And there are certain things that, regardless of their department, all of your managers should have as their baseline skill set. So how do you build that? That's what we're going to talk about in this episode. So training needs can be solved in a lot of different ways. You have the ability to do internal training. This is training that you put on or that you have existing talent within your dealership that has the ability to train, can put on internally. Or you can look externally. Externally, there's a lot of different training providers. This podcast might actually be a source of training in some circumstances for your dealership. Have everyone listen to a specific episode that applies. You can send people out to classes in person. You can send people to online classes. There's lots of different ways externally to find training as well. And then you need to look at the skills that you want all of your managers to have. So there's really, as we see it, probably 4 categories of training to consider for your managers. The first one we're not going to talk about in any depth, and that is job-specific training. If they're a sales manager, you want to deliver them sales training, give them really high-end sales skills above what they've already built. Or if they are in the service department, there's ongoing job-specific training that you want your service manager to have. That's not the thrust of this podcast episode. We want to focus on the other skill areas that you want to make sure your managers as a baseline have kind of as a prerequisite for the job. In the first category, we want to talk about our soft skills. Management is inherently a soft skill profession. It's all about the soft skills when it comes to the managers. You're not necessarily looking for someone to be the absolute top expert in selling cars. You want a person that's able to manage the experts, that is your salespeople, in selling cars. Same with service. You don't have to have an automotive engineer to be a service manager. You want your service technicians to be absolutely excellent at diagnosing and repairing and handling their tasks within the service department. You want the manager that facilitates that. And fundamentally, to do that, you have to have strong soft skills. Soft skills are going to include categories or training topics such as customer service. There's some great customer service training out there. You want to be able to project a certain look, image, and feel through your employees to your customers. And fundamental to that is having all the managers on board with a customer service strategy, which itself important soft skill. De-escalation. We are in a high friction business. There's anger and temper involved between customers, employees on a recurrent basis. You need managers that are able to de-escalate that. De-escalation training, very valuable, especially when you're trying to build a good customer service reputation for your business. You will have customers that come in, they are unreasonably angry. You need to be able to have managers that are able to come in, provide a second voice, and de-escalate that customer. Another training topic that's kind of fundamental to all of those is just interpersonal communications. There's great interpersonal communications training out there. Super valuable training to get to your managers. The next category, HR skills. This is the most neglected category as far as management training in our industry specifically. Other industries do a much, much, much better job than we as an average do in our industry. We need to be delivering better HR training to our managers. Topics such as employee coaching, the non-disciplinary build your employees up type of role managers need to excel at. Very valuable training to deliver to them. Then you also want to have progressive discipline training. You want to have a progressive discipline system. We've talked about that in a previous episode, and you want to train your managers on it. You also want your managers to have some HR and employment law training. They need to understand the liabilities involved, their responsibilities for dealing with employee harassment, discrimination complaints, how to handle those on the onset, and how to properly route them through your dealership's HR processes. You also want them to have some training in OSHA and workplace safety. Episode we talked about OSHA and workplace safety very recently. Important management training topic that you want all of your managers as a baseline to have some knowledge of. Then our fourth category of training, business skills. Regardless of what department your manager is in, you want them to have a certain level of business skill knowledge. Now, if they have a business degree, if they have their MBA, they might be already set here and you don't have to worry about it. But for most managers in our industry, they're going to need some training to bring them up to speed here. All managers should have at least a little bit of baseline accounting and budgeting knowledge. They should have some business strategy training as well. You want them to have some sophistication so that they can participate in a SWOT analysis and understand the strategic positioning of your specific dealership in your market. You want them to have some business communication skills. You want them to be able to write up policies, understand the format of your policies, manage through them. You want them to have some sophistication there as well. If you focus on getting good soft skill training, HR skill training, and business skill training to your managers at the onset of them coming on board as a manager, whether you're promoting them or bringing them from outside, even if they have experience as a manager elsewhere, you want to provide this type of training to them to make sure that they are on program with your business culture, your strategy, and operating at the level of the rest of your managers. So whether they're an internal promotion or an external hiring, you want to make sure that you're still delivering them this core prerequisite training. If you do that, you're going to have excellent managers and be building an excellent dealership. And with that, it's been another episode of Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers. Check out our podcast on all our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X.
Thank you for listening. Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers, is a production of Meta Financial Services Incorporated.